All right, so since we are installing on this virtual computer, the screen is going to be a little smaller. So that means I'm going to have to change the screen resolution, the very first step. All right, so you can see it better, I can see it better, and everybody will be happy. So to change the screen resolution, just click on the right button on the desktop here, and in the window that opens, click on Display Settings. And then on this screen, the resolutions that we can use are listed in the resolution section. And click Apply to make those resolution changes happen. Now, why don't we try out a few of them? Now, if we don't like the resolution that we've chosen, we can always restore it by clicking Revert. And then we can make the resolution that we chose valid by clicking Keep Changes. So I'm going to leave that to you because it depends upon your monitor, but choose your resolution. And let's continue learning. Now, since Linux operating systems are open source, different applications have been developed by many different software developers. With the spread of Linux distributions, each Linux distribution has developed its own desktop application. Most used Linux desktop applications are KDE and GNOME. Ubuntu uses the GNOME desktop application by default. So now let's get to know the menus on the desktop. Main screen contains the Ubuntu folder and the rubbish bin or trash. The menus here at the top, left, and bottom of the screen are used for different operations. So these menus are Dock bar on the left of the screen, activities on the top left of the screen, and at the very top of the screen, notification menu. And system menu is in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Show applications in the left corner of the screen, and here their menus are available. So why don't we have a look and see what these menus are used for? So this bar is called the dock, located on the left side of the screen. It provides shortcut keys to various applications that users use frequently. The dock is also where the minimized windows are collected. Any application icon found here can be used both to launch that application and to switch between open windows of that application. You can always add new application icons to the dock. In fact, to do that, just go to the Show Applications menu, find the application that you want, right-click, and say Add to Favorites. And of course, to remove an application icon, just reverse-click its icon on the dock and say Remove from Favorites. And you can change the order of the icons. To do this, just click on an icon and drag and drop it. You can move the dock to the bottom or the right of the screen if you want to change its width. So for this and similar adjustments, just follow the path: Settings, Appearance, Dock. And then a dot appears to the left of the icons for running applications. And the task of this flag is to inform the user which applications are open. Now, when you want to open a second window from an open application, you can just reverse-click the application's icon on the dock and use the new window option right here in the menu. And you can get information about using Ubuntu just by clicking the Help button right here on the dock bar. And you can easily find the answer to a question that you won't be able to find here, well, by searching the internet. Now, when you click on the upper left corner of the screen or press the Super key on the keyboard, an overview of the activities appear. So the Super button is the button here with the window icon. And in the Events overview, all open application windows are previewed. And a search bar appears at the top. And the Workspaces panel appears on the right edge, allowing you to use multiple workspaces. Now, one of the ways to switch between open application windows while working in Ubuntu is to use the Activities Overview. Search bar, applications installed on your system, various setting options, applications that are not installed on your system but can easily be installed from the application store, your files, calendar entries, etc. It allows for searching for items. So you don't need to click the search bar to search. Whenever you want to search for something, just press that super key on the keyboard or click the Events button in the top left and start typing directly. Now, the Workspaces panel, which appears on the right side of the Events Overview, allows you to run your work on more than one desktop. This is what we call multiple workspaces. So when you open a window in the selected environment, a new workspace panel gets created. Then when you're working with a large number of application windows, you may want to use this feature to keep your work organized in a, clean, workflowy kind of way. The Workspaces panel includes a preview image representing two predefined workspaces. And to move a window you have opened while working in one workspace to or into the other workspace, just enter the Activities Overview, drag and drop the window onto the desired workspace here at the right of the screen. But if you want to switch between workspaces, you can rotate the mouse wheel while in Activities or click on the Workspace Previews on the right. Then after entering the Events Overview, if you want to exit without doing anything, you can just click on the Events button. And for alternate, you can use the Escape or Super keys on the keyboard. Always like alternates. Now, the horizontal bar at the top of the screen is called the Hill bar, and the place where the day and time information is located in the middle of this bar, right here, is the notification area. So clicking on the day or hour information, you can access the list of recent notifications made by the system, as well as the calendar. This menu also offers a music player controller. So in other words, while listening to music with any music player application, you can stop playing a song by using the notification menu. You can also perform operations such as skip to the next or previous song from this shortcut, because these notifications here are clickable. For example, when you want to access the contents of a USB stick you've inserted into your computer, you can click the first notification box it opens, or you can enter the notification menu at any time and click on the relevant line. Now here, I'll explain the task of the Show Applications button, which is here in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. And it'll list all the applications installed on your computer and the applications you use frequently. You can see all the applications installed on the computer, and you can click Frequent to access or just peruse your recently used applications. Of course, if you want to, you can drag one application icon over another in this area, and it creates a folder for you. Now, if the application you installed on your computer isn't listed here, or if you have applications on more than one page, all you got to do is write that application's name in the search section and press the Escape key or the Show Application button to exit the Show Application menu. So when you do this, you jet right back to the desktop. The System menu is located in the upper right corner of the desktop, And it'll host various options such as volume and screen brightness, internet connection, turning off the computer, locking the session, and a button to access the settings interface. And all of the icons up here in the upper right-hand corner of the desktop are actually a single button. So to open the system menu, simply click on any point in the area of these icons. This way you don't have to actually hover your cursor right over that sound icon when you want to change the volume, for instance. So the rotate screen icon in the menu will allow you to turn the screen rotation feature on or off. If you have a display that supports vertical or horizontal rotation, that's always good to do. If your screen doesn't support rotation, you won't even be able to see this button. Now with the lock screen button, you can lock your screen to prevent others from using it while you're away from your computer. So there are many practical ways to access minimized windows in Ubuntu and to switch between all the other open applications. For example, we'll open up a Firefox window, 2 LibreOffice Writer windows, and 1 File Manager window, and examine these different methods together. So the first way, you can switch by clicking the icon of the application that you want to switch to on the dock. If more than one window is open from that application, you will see the previews of one of the windows, just like you see here. And you can open it just by clicking the preview window if you want to. The second way is you can switch between open application windows by entering the Events overview. To do this, just click on the Events button in the upper left-hand corner or the Super key on the keyboard. And then all open application windows will be titled as large preview windows, so you can switch just by clicking the one that you want. Oh, also, you can make a small adjustment to open the events when you move the cursor to the upper left-hand corner of the screen, and you don't need to click, instead of clicking on the Events button. So you can use this function, almost in your sleep. Not that you're sleeping ever at your keyboard, right? But to make that preference happen, just follow the path tuning head bar. And what about a third way? Well, you can switch between all open application windows just by using the Alt and the Tab key together. Open apps will be listed in the middle of the screen when you Alt-Tab. And then without taking your hand off the Alt key, you can click the Tab button repeatedly to point to the application that you want, and then release the key. Also, after hovering over an application that has more than one window open with the Alt-Tab, for instance in LibreOffice Writer, you can switch between the windows of that application just by doing Alt+ without releasing the Alt key. And there's a fourth way. You can switch between the other windows of the currently active application by using the Alt+ key combination. For example, while working in any of the 2 some people say Libre, some people say Libre. It's up to you. But in any event, the 2 LibreOffice Writer windows that are here, for example, do an Alt+ click repeatedly, and while keeping your finger on that Alt key. You can also use the Super D key combination from the keyboard, and that's just like in Windows, to minimize all windows and display the desktop. To move a window, that is to move it to a different location on the desktop, just hold the title bar at the top of the window. You can click and hold with the mouse and drag and drop it to a desired location on the desktop. And then to maximize or shrink a window, you can of course grab any corner of the window and drag it in the direction that you want and release it. Now, let's say sometimes that you want to have just one window occupy half of the desktop and another half to cover the desktop. For this, you don't need to size two windows one by one, right, to divide the screen in two. When you want to do that, you just drag and drop one of the windows from the title bar to the far left of the screen as far as you can, and the window will automatically cover the left half of the screen. And similarly, you can drag the other window to the right side so that it covers the right side of the screen. That's pretty cool. Now you can perform the same operations, of course, using the keyboard, super with the left arrow and super with the right arrow keys. But literally, that's like one of my favorite options here. Now, when you first open the Ubuntu desktop, you will notice that there is no My Computer partition like in Windows, and you'll probably try to find local partitions such as a C drive or D drive or whatever. In Linux-based operating systems such as Ubuntu, storage devices are defined differently, not with letters like C or D. In Ubuntu, you can access the current local partitions on your computer from the Other Locations section in the File Manager, right here in the bottom left. You can also access external storage media such as USB memory, memory cards, phones, CDs, and DVDs from the sidebar in the File Manager interface. Now, when you want to safely remove these peripherals from the system, you can also open the File Manager and click the triangle-shaped icon right here to the right of the disk in question, or you can click the name of the disk and use the relevant option in the menu. And in addition, when you insert an external medium, such as a USB memory drive or a memory card into your computer, an icon is automatically placed in the dock, just as you see here in the picture on the top right. Then just by clicking this icon, you can easily access the content of the external media, and also right-click on this icon to access the safe removal option. Oh, and by the way, when there is no disk inserted in a CD drive in Ubuntu, don't look for any option related to CD or DVD in the File Manager sidebar. It doesn't exist. Doesn't need it yet. It's that smart. Now, if you want to know where the fixed or portable storage media are technically located in the directory hierarchy in Ubuntu, you can always get information on the Linux file system hierarchy help page. To open File Manager, we can click the folder icon in the dock bar or click the Ubuntu folder icon on the desktop. Why don't we spend a moment here and get to know the File Manager window a little bit better. The main folders are listed on the left side of the window. So when you insert a new USB disk or CD or DVD, it's going to be listed right here at the bottom of this section. Then when you click on Other Locations at the bottom, you can view the local disks and other system files connected to your computer. Now, if you want to get into any of the folders, then you can just double-click on the folder or right-click and click Open. And then when the File Manager window is open, only the main folders belonging to the logged-in user are listed. If another user has been created on the computer, then there will be a folder with a username in the home folder. But user files and folders will only be able to be accessed by entering this folder. So let's have a look at network settings. They are created automatically when you install the Ubuntu operating system, and it is very likely that the drivers for the Ethernet and Wi-Fi card of your computer will be installed automatically. Now, if there is a DHCP server in the network environment, it'll automatically obtain an IP. Now, if you wish, you can always manually adjust these settings yourself. So if you want to do that, click on the System menu in the upper right corner. And in the window that opens, just click Wired Connection and then the wire settings. And then in the window that appears here, you can see the Network tab on the left. So you can click the Settings button under Wired on the right side of the screen. And then on this screen, your current network settings can be seen in the Details section. Now here in the Identity section, the connection name and MAC address of the network card are displayed. And if it is desirable, you can always click on Cloned Address to generate a MAC address. MTU value determines the value of packets in the network connection, and it's recommended that that remain automatic. In the IPv4 section, you can make some changes to your IP settings. But like I said, everything is set to automatic during installation. But if you need to change, you can enter the IP values yourself by clicking Manual on the screen, or you can create an internet hotspot point for other computers in the environment by selecting the Shared to Other Computers option. Now on the IPv6 tab, you can make similar settings like you did in the IP version 4. So in the Security tab, you can configure the 802.1x settings. You can also configure a VPN in the Network Settings section. So you can use VPN programs that are supported by Ubuntu and come by default. You can use a VPN program of your choice as well, just by installing the necessary files. And finally, if a proxy server is used in your environment, you can make these settings here. So the Mozilla Firefox web browser will be installed automatically, and that will connect you to the internet with your Ubuntu installation. So if you want to, you can install a different web browser with Linux support. And we'll see how to do that in the following lessons. But for right now, for your internet access, just click on the Mozilla Firefox icon. It's just right here in the dock menu. And you can now surf the internet as you wish. So to see the operations that can be done with the desktop, just right-click. So let's have a look at it in order. The first thing that comes up when we right-click is the process of creating a new folder. When you click on New Folder, we can see the screen where we set the name of the folder. So spelling out a name, just click OK, and you can see that the folder is created on the desktop. We can paste the file or folder that we copied from another place to the desktop as well. We can also undo a particular transaction that we made with the undo option. We can view files created on the desktop in a new pane. We can also open the command line with Terminal. And exactly like you do in Windows, you can change the background picture. So to change this desktop picture, just right-click and click Change Background. And a whole file of ready-to-wear pictures are right here listed on the screen. So you can choose one of them. Or you can always use an image downloaded from the internet for your background. For that, just click on Add Picture. And the window that opens is entered into the folder where you downloaded the picture. And just double click on the picture, and here you can change the display settings. Or we can enter the settings and perform any action that we want to from here. So when Ubuntu is installed, the screensaver runs by default when the computer is not used. Screensaver is set to 5 minutes by default. So of course you can just log into the computer by entering your password again, and you can change the duration if you prefer. So to change the screensaver settings, click the right button, Settings. And in the window that opens, click Privacy on the left. And then on the screen that appears, click on Screen Lock. And to the right, we can change the blank screen delay setting. And if you don't want the screen lock, you can disable the automatic screen lock button. We can add schedule automatic screen lock in the next section. We can also disable screen lock on suspend if we want. Or we can use the show notifications on lock screen setting, and that'll turn off information about applications running when the screen is locked. So Ubuntu has a Gedit text editor to open text files or create new files, except for LibreOffice files. So this editor is akin to the Notepad application included in Windows, or Notes, if you're familiar with macOS. It can help you edit scripts written in many programming languages, so it's very useful. With Gedit, you can open many files in different tabs in the same window and make changes on them. And when saving a file you created with Gedit, you must specify the file extension. Otherwise, it is saved without a file extension. So for instance, to create a text file, let's open up the Gedit application, and we'll write a test and click Save. And that's the default naming system right here in the window that opens. So there is no file extension here. So that means we need to specify one. Now, create a folder on Ubuntu is very simple, and there's a couple of ways to do it. You can right-click and choose New Folder as the option, and that'll create a new folder. And then you can create as many subfolders as you want within this folder. And all you have to do is repeat that process. And then for file creation, you'll need to open the application where you will create the file and save it. For instance, when we create a file with Gedit. So you first have to open the Gedit application, and we'll type out a few lines of an article just to test. This is my test article. So we'll click Save. And let's save this file in the folder that we just created. So to do that, I'll first click Desktop from the left, click the test folder, and we've got to name our file. I'll click the Save button, close the application, and now I'll double-click on the test folder on the desktop, and what do you see here? Our file that we just created. And of course, if you double-click on the file will open with the Gedit application. So just like in Windows, there are hidden files in Ubuntu that we won't be able to see with our normal settings. But if you need to, in order to view hidden files, just open the Files tool, click on this button, check the Show Hidden Files option in the pop-up menu here. And of course, you can always use the Control-H key combination from the keyboard to make hidden files visible and then invisible again. For example, a few folders that are normally called Documents, Pictures, Music, Videos appear in the user's home directory. So when you make the hidden files visible, you can see that there are actually other various hidden files and directories in this directory. Now notice that the names of all these hidden files and directories begin with the dot character. So we're just getting warmed up here. Let's say you want to listen to music with Ubuntu. You can use the default Rhythmbox application, or you can install another multimedia application with Linux support. We will actually see some of the installation process in our following lessons. But here, with the default Rhythmbox, when you open it, you will need to specify the location of the music file in the window that opens. Then you can listen to music just by clicking on the play button. You can create listening lists with Rhythmbox. You can listen to your lists in order or shuffle. You can add the radio broadcasting over the internet to the application. And then by clicking on Preferences, you can change the settings to your liking. You can also use the Videos application to watch videos. And to open the Videos application, simply click on the Show Applications and type Videos in the search field. Another great thing to do is using the Image Viewer application. So this will open images with Ubuntu. To open the Image Viewer application, you can click Application Settings and find it within Applications. Or you can find and click the application by typing Image Viewer in the search section. Or you can use the Shotwell program to edit pictures. You can edit your pictures with the Shotwell program. It'll also record in different formats. So you can set the pictures that you've edited to be background images. You can change the settings according to your wishes just by clicking on Preferences. So what occurs to me, and probably as you've guessed by now, you can do anything in the Linux operating system. If you don't like the default programs that come with Ubuntu, you can install another program in the software install section and continue with that. It's entirely up to you. So first of all, it should be noted that Ubuntu, Linux, Windows, and Mac are different operating systems. Since the program installation files, such as setup.exe and install.exe, are prepared entirely for Windows platforms, well, a Macintosh operating system, for instance, or Ubuntu or Linux operating system won't be able to open them because they won't be able to make any sense out of them. So for that reason, only programs with Linux versions can be installed on Ubuntu, all right? Because this, of course, is a Linux-based operating system. So in Ubuntu, programs are installed from the application store through the software interface. Ubuntu package software repositories are extremely rich and deep, containing more than 60,000 packages, thousands of which are applications. Most of them are free, except for a small number of paid apps released by the manufacturer. So whenever you need a new program, just open Softwares and find the program that you want to just by searching with the search button here or browsing through the software categories. Then click the Install button, and that's it. So while browsing or searching the App Store, you can see that there are two of each app, right? One of them is packaged in a traditional .deb format, The other is packaged in the next generation .snap format. But I'll tell you this, they both function the same way. Now, if you are familiar with the Windows operating system, you'll know that there's a tool called Windows Update, and that's used to update the Windows operating system. And of course, it can only update Windows itself, and of course, some other software that belongs to Windows. But the point is, not all software that is installed in the system, right? And so for that reason, Windows users will need to purchase various applications that they've installed on their systems from different sources, one by one. Now in Linux, package management systems are used that can control and update all kinds of software with a single click, including the programs installed later on the system. Updates are automatically checked in the background according to predefined settings in Ubuntu. And if you want to check for updates manually at any time, you can always run it by going to Events and then searching for the Software Updater tool in the search bar. And then to open the Software Updater tool, click on Show Applications in the right lower corner here, the lower right-hand corner. Type Software Updater in the search bar, and the incoming result, you can click it. And the update tool automatically checks for a new update. And if a new update is available, it gives you two different options. You can perform the update process immediately or click the Remind button to do it later. And then detailed information about the programs to be updated when the update process starts are noted here. Now, the update process can take a little time depending upon the number and size of the files, your internet connection, all of that. And of course, your computer may need to restart after the update process. Now, when you make a change on this screen, you will see the password screen. And now the process is complete just by entering the login password. So to change the update settings, you can open the tool named Software and Updates, click the Updates tab. Now in Linux operating systems, websites called repositories are used for updating. So with the Software and Updates tool, you can see these repositories by default. And if you want to, you can always add a new repository here. However, when a repository is added, you will need to be sure about the software inside. That's a good way to install malware or malicious software onto your computer. So obviously, for that reason, it is not recommended to install programs from a place other than secure repositories. So you can add a new user to your Ubuntu computer, and you can authorize this user for different levels. To create a new user, enter Settings, click Users from the menu on the left, and then a user screen will appear on the right of the screen. However, it is necessary to activate it with your admin password in order to operate it. So we'll enter our password. And now we can change the name of the current user on this screen. We can also change the password. We can certainly change the user picture. To create a new user, just click Add User in the upper right corner of the screen here. And then you enter information about the user. Now, there are two options in the password section. First of all, you can choose Allow User to set a password when they log in next day. And that's for the user to set the password themselves. Or you can set the password yourself. But Ubuntu forces you to make the password complex when creating a password. So we password, question mark, exclamation, and make sure that you see that it's a capital P, it is a 0 and not an O. So that is the form of my password. Now, there are two types of users in Ubuntu. It's a standard user and a user with admin authority. The standard user won't be able to do many of the system operations, and the admin user is authorized to do all kinds of system operations on the computer. So it's here on this screen that you determine if the user will be able to create things as an authorized user. If not, you've got a limited user. So you can determine when the user can use the computer. You can also delete previously created users from this screen. So what we'll do is create a standard authorized test user and log in with this user. Now let's try to change the user privileges after we log in. Right-click, Settings, Users, and when we click the Unlock button, it wants us to enter the password of the admin user, not the test user. And since we're not logged in as the authorized admin user, we're not going to be able to go in. However, we can do some of our other normal jobs. We can create folders, access the internet, all that kind of good stuff. You find the user that you want to change and click on it. And now in the account settings, here's where you make the changes regarding user privileges. It really is that easy. Now, of course, there are indeed two different types of users in the Ubuntu operating system. These are standard users and administrator users with administrator privileges. And the standard user can perform operations other than changing the computer settings. So in other words, the user in the administrator group can make all sorts of changes to all of the settings. Now, way back in the beginning of Linux, the Linux operating system was just a black command screen. All operations were done on this command line. Later, graphical interfaces for all of the programs were developed with the contributions of software developers. However, the command line continues to run in the background. In fact, I'll tell you this for nothing. Every program that works with a graphical interface consists of commands executed on the command line in the background. So therefore, you will find that all Linux operating systems have a terminal application. So this is an application that comes by default. And with the terminal application, you can do everything you do on the graphical interface. However, in order to use the terminal, it's necessary to know a few commands. And then you can find lists of various commands. So if you type help in the terminal and press enter, you can see all the basic Linux commands. But if you want to get more detailed information about these, you can always find many resources out there on the World Wide Web. For example, you can list the files in a directory that you are in with the ls command. To To see the options you can use for the ls command, you just need to type in ls-help. To find out what a command does, you've got to type man and then the command name. For example, when you type man ls, you can see all the information about the ls command. To identify a local printer automatically with Ubuntu, thanks to the current Linux kernel, it will include packages that enable printers of most of the brand's models out there that run on Linux. So these packages, which are copied to the system with the installation of Ubuntu, usually activate automatically when you install a new printer or scanner to your system, and it makes the device ready to use. So let's do this together, or at least I can show you how it's done. So first of all, you've got to connect the device cable to the computer. And then you will see the system search activity for drivers on your screen. You may be prompted even to enter your user password in order to install them. And you wait for the process to complete. And when the automatic printer setup process is complete, you will see a message verifying that that setup is complete. Then you can go ahead and try to print just by clicking Print Test Page, or by sending any document that you have to the printer. So if your printer is not self-adjusting, you can register manually. I'll show you this here. Manually registering a local or network printer can actually be quite easy, so I'll just show you quickly to manually identify a printer directly connected to your computer, or even adding a printer on the network to your system. You just go to Settings, Printers, Additional Printer Settings, and click on the Add button and select the printer from the window that opens. And click Next and wait while it searches for drivers. Here you can customize the printer name, description, and location if you want to. And when you're finished, you can click Apply. You could also print a test page from here, or skip this step just by clicking Cancel. Now, just a warning up front, it might not be possible to introduce some printers like this because the driver package required by the device is restricted by licenses or other variations. So for some reasons, it might not have been installed automatically with Ubuntu, or additional actions might be required for the user to implement in order for the device to work. So if this manual installation does not work, just type the name of your device into a search engine and search by adding the words Ubuntu Linux next to it. Now, very rarely, some printers or scanners are not able to work under Linux at all because no Linux driver has been written. Scanner drivers installed with Ubuntu allow many scanners, or the scanner feature of printers with that scanner feature, to be used without any additional action at all. So within a few seconds of connecting your scanner to the computer and pressing the power button, your scanner will probably be ready to use automatically. You can start scanning by using the simple scan tool, and that's the scanning program that comes with Ubuntu. To run the program, just enter the events and search for the program name. And if you have any problems at all, we recommend you to just type in the name of your device into a search engine and search by adding the words Ubuntu Linux next to it. Now, the equivalent in Ubuntu of the disk management tool that is included with Windows, and you might be familiar with it in Windows. But here in Ubuntu, it's called disks, and it was originally called GNOME disks. In any event, to access this tool, it comes installed with Ubuntu. You can enter events and search for the word disks. So it's with this program that you can view all the disk partitions connected to your computer. You can delete disk partitions, you can format, you can mount or detach, and also connect disk image files, like ISOs or IMGs, to the system. If you want to use a more detailed tool for disk management, you can always install the gparted, and that's an application available in the application store. So what about mounting disks at startup? Well, a mount means that a partition is connected to the system and ready for use. Now, if you're familiar with the Windows operating system, that will mount all of the disk partitions on the computer at startup. But this situation is optional in different Linux distributions, and that's just the case with Ubuntu. So in Ubuntu, the disk partition where the system is installed and where the user home directory is initially mounted, while the hard disk partitions other than these are performance, etc. So for these reasons, it's set to connect when the user accesses it. So when you start the computer and reach the Ubuntu desktop, these partitions are not actually connected to the system yet. And then when you click on these partitions via the file manager, that partition is automatically connected to the system. So from that point of view, users don't really have to do anything, but now you know. However, if you do store your documents on a separate partition other than the partition where Ubuntu is installed, for example, let's say that you're using a separate NTFS formatted document area on the same computer, as is commonly preferred by users who switch between Windows and Ubuntu. So that way, you'll be able to find your documents trouble-free. So we actually recommend that you set that partition that is to be mounted at computer startup. Otherwise, you might encounter minor problems such as various file or directory shortcuts that you created won't work. Of course, you can easily perform the necessary adjustment in a few clicks. So all of the settings that can be made in Ubuntu are made in Settings. It has a task similar to the control panel in Windows. So to access the Settings menu, just right-click on the desktop and click Settings. Yes, there's an alternative way. You can access this panel just by clicking Show Applications and then clicking Settings. And you can change to different settings on Ubuntu with the Settings panel. So programs that are to be changed are grouped in the left part of the Settings panel. We'll have a look. The first one is Network. So when you click on the Network panel, the settings that can be made with the network are listed here on the left. So let's have a look at what else there is inside of here. Let's look at the Bluetooth section. So we can make a few settings beyond the Bluetooth device on the computer. Here you can change the picture displayed on the desktop in the background section. So here in the notifications section, there's a list of programs that are allowed to notify when an event occurs. So you can change the settings of these programs just by clicking on them. So what happens when you search in the search section? Well, you can set which disk or folders that you want to search in. You can also list the locations to be used for the search. And for this, you can add just by clicking search locations at the top of the menu. And you can activate it by clicking the button on the menu to edit this section here. Cool, so what about the application section? Well, you can change the settings related to programs listed in the main menu. And in the privacy section, you can adjust the location, camera, microphone, screen lock, permissions, and settings. You can also activate the online accounts that you use right here in the online account section. So in the sharing section, you can make and change settings that will allow you to be able to share files, different media that is in your computer or attached, or you can also connect to your computer remotely. To activate these settings, you do need to activate the button here in the top menu. Now in the sound section, you can make a few settings related to your audio outputs and inputs. You can adjust the power settings in the power section. All right, I'm going to leave all of these to you, how you want to set them. But I'm just taking you through that you can change your resolution settings in the displays section here. Let's go to the mouse and touchpad section. You can change the settings related to however your preferences are. Keyboard shortcuts. Well, you can make a few changes here related to the shortcuts that you use with your keyboard. You can change printer settings in the printer section. In the removable media section, you can make settings related to external media, such as CDs or DVDs that you insert. You can see your choices here. Now here you can adjust the color settings of the monitor in this color section. So here is the region and language section. It'll allow you to switch between the languages that you've selected during installation. Now, what about the accessibility section? You can change different usage settings here according to your preferences. And alas, we have come to the users section. So here you can add a new user that gets to log into your computer. You can also change the rights of a user that you've added before, as well as delete a user. Now, once we arrive in the default application section, we can change the programs that will run by default whenever a program runs. Over here on the right side of the screen, you can see the default programs for certain jobs, right? So for each job, we can list other programs that can be used just by clicking the box next to it. We can choose any of the programs that are here on the list. And over here in the date and time section, you can change the clock settings of the computer. And now in the About section, you can find information about the computer hardware, the operating system, everything that you see here. Now again, if you're familiar with the Windows environment, you certainly know the Task Manager, and that's the tool that's used for things such as listing the running programs and terminating a desired program. Well, that's called the System Watcher in Ubuntu. So you can access the System Watcher just by using the search bar. So it's from here that you can terminate an unresponsive program. So you open System Watcher, or if you want to, you can define a shortcut to the relevant command beforehand just by simply clicking the desired window.